Welcome, one and all. My name is Anna Lempriere, and I am a wayfinder. I work for the Cornwall Memory Cafe network, supporting carers and people living with dementia to access services, make referrals, and really help them find a way to get more support. This is part of Disability Cornwall, and we've decided to create this podcast interviewing experts and people with lived experience on dementia to be able to share all sorts of interesting and informative and supportive information. So sit back and enjoy, and also share the podcast with your friends. It's relaxed and inclusive and welcoming, and thank you for listening. Welcome everybody to our Dementia Toolkit video series, a one-stop shop answering all your questions on everything dementia related. Simple educational advice from people with lived experience and professionals in their field. We aim to provide support that's personalised to help you on your dementia journey. Welcome everybody. It is a great pleasure to be here today as Anna Lempriere, your podcast host, as part of the Cornwall Memory Cafe network. So today I'm interviewing Susie Inman, and it's such a pleasure to be with you, Susie. Thank you for coming on the show. You're a communications specialist, and you work alongside the digital inclusion team for Cornwall, supporting digital champions, really, that they you're going to tell us all about it, but they're digital champions that then support people, elderly people or carers, people living with dementia, to develop their tech skills. And this is a big drive that you're launching during Dementia Awareness Week, which is aligning perfectly. So today we're going to explore about this. And if you're somebody out there that is a volunteer or is in a particular sector where you might be supporting people, carers, people elderly, living with dementia, we could be speaking to you now. Yeah.
That's right, Anna. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. So basically what we're doing is we're already working with organisations in Cornwall to recruit these, what we're calling digital champions in the community. It's a bit of a thing to get your head around, but it's quite simple really, in that what it is it's people who do a little bit of training, and then by doing that little bit of training, they learn the skills to be able to help others to get online. So it might fairly basic things that you and I might take for granted, lots of people still can't do. So It's about that that kind of basic digital skill and the confidence to be able to get online, because there's a lot of resources online, particularly if you've got something like dementia, or it can be about resources. It can be about finding help with your condition. It can be about doing your shopping. It can be about booking a doctor's appointment. It can be about connecting with family and friends, which is huge. It's so good for our mental health. We're trying to work to improve people's accessibility to that.
It's important. It's so important. So what I'm hearing you say is that you're giving free training to anybody in that is working in a care sector, or is there any criteria for these champions?
No, not really. They have to be working within an organisation, so we have to do it through an organisation. It can't be. We can't work. We don't work directly with members of the public. But if you're working with an organisation, then you can have a look at the resources that are available. Maybe speak to a manager, whoever it is that would give the go ahead for that kind of thing. And absolutely, if you're working with somebody, you think, oh, it would be so good if they could get online, then you can learn the skills to do it. And not only that, but once you've learned the skills, there's potential to access free devices. So we have laptops, tablets and Wi-Fi connections, which a lot of people can't afford or don't have access to. And once you've done this training, you are able to kind of say, right, I really need this, and then you can explain who it's for, and you can loan those out or use them with your staff or use them internally. So yeah, there isn't really any stipulations on it at this stage, although we are looking to work with people around the health and care arena, so that's perfect for your listeners.
It's perfect for our listeners, and I am sure there are a few memory cafes that have already done this, and they're the perfect people, really, because imagine somebody, one of the volunteers from a memory cafe doing this training. It's not long and laborious and drawn out. It's half an hour. And then once they've done that and they've got those skills and connected with you, they could apply for an iPad or something like that could be connected with the memory cafe. And so they could be setting things up like helping people get shopping, like you say, organizing a doctor's appointment, things like that, as well as obviously protecting people's privacy. But what an incredible thing. Or even just being able to help people get familiar with using an iPad, and then taking those skills home, and they've got their own tech stuff at home, but just having that opportunity to be shown in the memory cafe. Because my mum's in her 80s, and she wasn't very well a couple of years ago. My dad passed away, so she's on her own now, and she wasn't very well, and I set her up with Tesco's, and she loves it now. She loves it. It's a whole sort of ritual to go on her iPad to do her Tesco order. It's, she really enjoys that. And then all my Tesco orders coming this week, and it is that independence, isn't it?
Absolutely. And sometimes the setting up of those things can be the hardest part, and they're kind of getting over, because we all fear change a bit, don't we? We fear kind of things that are a bit different, and I think there can be a reticence, and once somebody sees how simple something can be, that then can transform. Something so simple like that can really make a difference to somebody's life. And I think it has. But I think being shown by another person is, for a lot of people who are digitally excluded, is still really important. And that's what we've tried to reflect in this. We've tried to create the person first, and then, because a lot of people we found are bringing their own devices, their daughter or their kids have grown-up children have bought them a device, and they've no idea what to do with it. So they come in, and then the digital champions, and people say, oh, I couldn't be a digital champion, I don't know it that well myself. But you don't need to know it that well. There are a lot of people who know digital well enough to be able to help somebody else. And then the Digital Unite training, it takes between like half an hour and an hour. It depends how fast you are. We kind of say half an hour. I've done it myself. I think I did it in about 40 minutes. So it wasn't too, and it's not onerous. It's mainly about staying safe online, kind of helping people with basic tasks, things like sending emails, how to use their own device, or like you say, if they don't have access to that device. And a memory cafe is a perfect example of where you could hold a device that you could either loan out, or people could come and use it there as like a training tool. So that's what we're trying to do. It's kind of open to people. The only thing that you have to do is you have to provide a very short monthly report of what you've done, just to share. But obviously that's good for the organisation, as well as for us to kind of record who's been helped.
Yes, exactly. And because I do think there's a lot of fear. I know that my mum, because after she did the Tesco, after about a year, I was getting her to do telephone banking, and she was very reticent about that, really scared. So I think having that, because also scams, they're changing all the time. They're moving and pivoting, aren't they? So having that confidence to know certain things that would never ever happen by a bank, or a bank would never do that. So if this happens, you're being scammed. So having that digital confidence in that way as well is good, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. There's a whole little bit of the training actually around that, around how to spot a scam email, around how to kind of, if it's got a spelling mistake in it, it's probably anything that's a little bit you think, oh, I'm not sure about that, it's probably a scam. And actually, if there are lots of little tips and tricks, and Yeah, I guess some of our organisations that are doing this are actually running little courses around those things. They might run a little course around how to book your doctor's appointment, a little course around how to spot a
Yeah.
a scam email, that kind of thing, just to build people's confidence around use of online, because it is for a lot of people still, I think, a very alien thing. And my mum's in her 70s and my dad's 80 odd, and similarly I've taught them things. My mum loves a bit of eBay. I taught her eBay about 10 years ago, and she just loves it, but
Could be
she
dangerous.
can't go to Vinted because she doesn't, she doesn't. Other online sites are available, but she doesn't understand the setup of that and how it works. It's the same in principle, but it's just that confidence to have that initial kind of walkthrough. And she writes all her little notes down, and then she goes away and she does it. So I think it's about people who can do that within their communities, and there's so far it's kind of worked organically, so they haven't needed the likes of me to come in and be a communications specialist. With 100 organizations have got wind of it.
Wow.
And kind of come on board, which is brilliant. That's work. Amazing. But they've seen it slow down recently, and also because they're trying to target, particularly they've got kind of 9 priority groups around health outcomes and care and carers and autism and people with long-term illnesses, or people with sight and hearing loss. That people who could really make quite big leaps in seeing them able to live independently for longer, and able to kind of improve their quality of life. A lot of people think it's old people who are not on the internet, but it's actually not necessarily the case.
No. It just sounds so good, doesn't it? I mean, I know that the banks are closing, aren't they? And we're kind of being pushed quite fervently in that direction of being online, and it with the right training and the right support for these people, they, like you say, they can really have some very simple changes that could make a big difference, like being able to do an online doctor's appointment, being able to speak, because you can speak to your GP or a specialist to get medication, all sorts of things, can't you, just by having that familiarity with doing something online. And as we were saying, order shopping, order other things. I mean, it's incredible. You can get stuff with Amazon the next day, can't you? Next day delivery.
Yeah.
For pretty much anything you need.
Yeah.
So to be able to have that skill. Okay, so then could you just very simply tell us what the process is, what the process would be for the Memory Cafe volunteers, or anybody that's working in an organisation that's supporting people that this might benefit? What do we need to do?
So it's quite simple, really. You need to go to the Cornwall Council website, and the address is cornwall.gov.uk/digital champion. So if you type that in,
we'll put the link in the show notes.
Yeah, great. That'll take you directly to the page. And then there's a page there, and there's a little form to fill in. You just have to fill in your name, your organisation, and a few details. And then that will go through to the digital inclusion team who I'm working with, and they will come back to you and find out whether you're eligible to take part. Simple as that.
And if you are eligible to take part, then what happens?
Then what will happen is one of the digital inclusion team will get in touch and find out, and then they will give you an access, like a username and a password to access Digital Unite, which is the training platform. It's a national training platform, and there's this sort of initial training that you have to do. That's kind of compulsory, but then there's a whole raft of other stuff on there. So if you're the sort of person who thinks, oh, I've done that, but I'd really like to learn about this aspect of digital, or this, there's a lot of content on there. So once you've got that login, you can access that content. And you can have more than one digital champion in an organisation. It doesn't just have to be one person.
Okay.
I don't think we've actually got a limit on the number of licenses for the training at the moment. So that's, sky's the limit, I guess, at this point. And then once you've completed the training, I think you have to let the digital inclusion team know. They'll go and check that you have. And then from that point, you will be able to ask for whether you could have the free devices. So initially, I guess it would be assessing what you might need, what the biggest need is. So say we have loaned laptops, tablets, and as I say, like mobile Wi-Fi. So if people a lot of people don't have the money anymore for their broadband connections. So if that's a barrier, then that's something that we can help with. There is a finite amount of money on that at the moment, but with government funding and funding as it is, that may change. So I would say, if you want to do it, don't kind of hold back. Get in there.
Get in there.
Get in
yes.
there. But yeah, there's a good number of devices and licenses still available. So that's what would happen next. And then the digital inclusion team are really good with kind of keeping up to date with people and being on hand if people have got any questions. And if there's just that report then to fill in, kind of on a monthly basis. It doesn't have to be lots of information, but it's basically how many people you estimate that you've helped, and a few little stories if you can get them, and comments about what you've done. So the sorts of things that you've done, because we gather little stories. We've got quite a few of those that now that obviously are really helpful for kind of when we're doing reporting and sharing what we're up to.
And the memory cafes will be used to doing that, because they're having to apply for funding, so they have to tell stories and sort of give feedback on how the cafes are going and the benefit that they give for the people.
Yeah, great. The only other thing to mention as well is the launch that we're doing kind of as part of it happens to be in Dementia Awareness Week, which is really nice. There's a nice tie in there. There's going to be a suite of resources available, like a toolkit for organisations if they want to promote it within their organisation. So if you're listening to this and you're the manager, but you think, that's not me, but you want to share it and find somebody, there's going to be like there's something that you can put into your newsletter. There's some little like graphics that you can use to promote it internally. So however that might be, there's posters that you can download. So if you're thinking, this would be great for my organisation, but I'm not sure quite who would do it, there's kind of help with that will be available.
Great.
Yeah, and I guess again, I don't know how we'd share that with people, but we can figure that out.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think the thing to do is to follow the link, and then there'll be contact details and that sort of thing on the website, where people can ask for the branding and all of that if they decide to take it on a bigger scale. Or
it's just worth mentioning that, because if you're in a bigger organisation or somewhere where you're not sure that it would be you, then that might be useful to people.
Well, and also if a memory cafe or an organisation thought, well, let's make a thing of it and do a special day where we're going to have an open day and have a sort of training day or something, and a digital training awareness day or something, then that could be good to have the branding and to advertise it. So definitely it will all be on the website. We'll put the link for everybody if you're interested to reach out on the council page. And what a brilliant thing. And really, it's all free. You're not having to pay for anything. And it has the, real marvellous potential to encourage people's independence. So yeah, really good idea. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's about encouraging people to be more independent and to kind of be able to do those things online that they might not be able to do in real life. They might be able to, but it might save time, or it's all about health and well-being, really, and about enhancing that for people.
Thank you so much, Susie. It's been lovely to chat to you, and on behalf of the Cornwall Memory Cafe Network, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This video was produced by Discover Voices, part of Disability Cornwall and Isles of Scilly. To check out all of our content, simply search Discover Voices on YouTube.